and Harley Race when we were on different road trips, not knowing to anyone else but Vader, which Vader hated it because Vader rode with Harley. I think so Harley could keep Vader out of trouble a little bit, or to make sure that he got to towns on time, because and so but I remember Vader would come and Harley would find out when the ring would be up in a town, and then he only wanted me there, right? Because he didn't want to add to the heat, and he didn't want anyone thinking he was doing this to get it. He's Harley flipping Race, but he cared enough about me because he knew me as a kid. There were wrestling tournaments, amateur wrestling tournaments, that my dad didn't make, and Harley would stand in as the coach on my sideline, right? So he knew me as he knew me forever, right? So he knew what dues I paid and didn't pay, right? He didn't get in the middle of that. But what Harley did was, so Vader would come, he'd walk in, he would lay across the front row of the seat. I remember the first time he goes, "I hate you. I've got to ride with Harley. Everywhere Harley goes, I've got to go. So because you suck, I've got to get up early and be here. Doesn't look like it's an effing change. It's not like I can do effing anything about it, because I got to do what Harley says. So you better learn real effing fast so I don't have to show up all the time." Like literally. And it was only, I think we only did that 2, 3, 4, tours and stuff like that. But here's the other thing. My dad always taught me this in all my sports, is always to find, in business too, mentors. Find people better, ask them questions, right? And so I would go to like a Harley or someone, say, "Hey, sir, would you mind if, or could we do if?" When I went to Germany, Franz Schumann and Fit Finley and those guys were like, how do you know them? I didn't know Fit Finley. I didn't know Franz Schumann. I didn't know those guys. My first Germany tour, which was like 19, 20 days in the same town in Bremen, Germany, I saw those guys and I never seen them on. So I waited 2 or 3 days, brother. I come in and say, "Can I ask you something, sir? My name's Erik Watts. Is there any way you would come meet me and train me during the day some?" That got me so much heat somehow. And by guys that didn't matter. I mean, at the time, no one knew Bradshaw yet. He was over there. Ice Train, he was over there. Ice Train at least been on TV. Glenn Jacobs, he was nobody, right? And Glenn and I always got along. Ice Train and I always got along. But what my point is, I got to hear some of these guys go, first of all, they go, "Who in the hell is he to ask these guys?" But what they would do is they would see these veterans. They would show up, and sometimes we work out an hour, 2 hours. You know why? Because they loved wrestling and they wanted to show everything they knew. They were the true wrestlers. They were the true beautiful Shakespeare people, right? And so I would look at it so weird and go, hold on. Why wouldn't they show up? I'm earnestly saying, "Sir, you don't know me. I really want to learn. Will you do it?" So it would go from, "I can't believe they're doing it," to "Why in the hell are they spending so much time?" to they would show up occasionally and go, "Hey, Erik, I want to show you something." And they would go, "Hold on, I'm in here training him." And then those vets would bust those guys and go, "You might need some training yourself," right? Type stuff. So it didn't matter. When I went to Japan, I got Johnny Ace. I said, "Ace." Ace would meet me out, man. He'd go, "Don't let anyone know. We'd meet out afterwards. We'd talk. We'd get to a town a little bit early. We would talk, Johnny Ace. So I had a lot of beautiful Bobby Eaton and oh my God, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Raven was huge. Shane Douglas, huge. These guys, any one of these athletes, these true Shakespeare people, I call them, in pro wrestling, they want to give everything back. They want to. No one asks. They just don't ask, right? And so think about the difference in the true psychology of life. All I knew was, if I want to be better, I got to ask someone that's better, which wasn't too tough my first year, right? I could ask, shit, "Hey, listen, I only had 23 days. In 23 days, you do not learn how to throw a punch. You don't even know all the moves. And I remember I remember being back there, and I told my dad, not that we talked much, you know, he was busy, I was on the road. I said, Dad, I can't throw a punch. He goes, I hope you don't learn to punch. He goes, that's the problem with our business. Every one of my baby faces are punching people, right? He said, which is cheating, you know, and people don't get it. So he told me, he goes, but you're going to have to learn how to punch, right? And he goes, who's the best puncher you've seen? And I said, sir, I haven't been here long, but is one guy. And he goes, I think we're thinking about the same guy. Now I'm like, oh, this is going to be a problem, right? You know, is it going to be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat? Is it, you know, like that? And this is no disrespect to anybody, right? And I said, sir, it's Bob Cook.
He has that right hand. I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And he goes, exactly. My dad walked around and said, Cook, get in here. And center stage had these two dreary, shitty dressing rooms. Then there was like, you know, underneath some stairs. Well, there was one area because they do a lot of acting and things there, right? A lot of people don't know, but there's a stage, right? And it's only half the seats, right? I don't think that 500 people could fit in the place, you know. So they had washers and dryers there, you know, for people that were doing theater or you know, whatever. He in the laundry room. He goes, now Cook, throw a punch, you know. And Cook goes, yeah, that's good. And my dad throws a punch. Now my dad's he come it, boom. I mean, you know, don't have to learn how to sell it. So boom, Cook's like, yes, Mr. Watts. Well, I think at first Cook thought my dad was calling him in, mad at him about his punches. He goes, he turned to me, he goes, son, do you see it? He goes, yeah. I go, yes, sir, I see it. I've seen it. I said, but it's kind of tough to learn in such short time. And he goes, it's not now. Every time you're anywhere and there's Bob Cook, he's going to share how to punch. And Bob Cook was the one that said, okay, we took a metal door and we started throwing punches to the metal door, which will teach you really fast, you know. But no, so Bob Cook was teaching me these punches. Now, me and Bob Cook didn't share the road a lot, but when we were at center stage and a lot of our TV tapings, Bob was there, and then he was on certain trips with us and things like that. But I felt worse for Bob because, but again, being a consummate professional, he never sat there and goes. Now, I never heard him go, "Oh shit, Mr. Watts has me roped in," because I don't think anyone else saw it, and I don't think anyone else knew. And so then every chance I get, I would ask him. I'd say, "Hey, can we throw some punches?" He's like, "Sure." And we would go somewhere where no one would see us, and we work on punches, right? And
there's a video on YouTube, Bob Cook's right hand. It's a whole bunch of his punches. Yeah, it's crazy, Eric. It's like, okay, people think, oh, Erik Watts, you know, he's there because of his dad or whatever it is that people have his preconceived notions of you. They would expect you to come in and not ask for help and give you heat about it. But you do the opposite. You come in and you ask for help, and then you get heat. It's crazy how things work out, you know?
It can be tough, and I'll keep this very short. Again, it's the difference in the perspective of people, because those people were worrying about that day and that year, okay? And minus some injuries that happened to me and some situations in which I, you know, had to bow out after 17 years of wrestling, 15 years of wrestling, right? But also I had companies, you know, I had things I'm doing, but I wanted to wrestle, but I had a ruptured esophagus and just complication after complication, controlling the bleeding, and it just got crazy. Okay, so that's what happened. Because to me, brother, you know, your Shakespeare years, really, your Shakespeare years are that 42 to 55. You know, like if you stay healthy enough, that's when you are just, I mean, your mind is firing off. You've seen every situation. You know, I've been to Germany and Japan and, you know, ECW and WCW and TNA and, you know, and maybe, you know, boom, firing off, right? So I knew that I was going to be the greatest, hopefully. If not, if I miss the moon, I'm going to hit some stars, right? So, okay, I may be in the top 10. I may be in the top 1,000. I don't give a shit. I came in to try to be best. And that was not going to happen in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It was going to happen if I stayed consistently booked. Meaning my first year, I had 302 matches. My next, I averaged between 298, 305. My dude on the road all the time. Okay. And if not, if not, you can ask anyone. I was always at a training center, even on Sundays, days off. I was at training centers. Okay.